give the cause not being for the court, shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Take your first and last name for the record and spell them both.
Louis Cameron, Louis Cameron.
Okay, thank you. Mr. DeMar, direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Sergeant Cameron.
Afternoon.
Sergeant Cameron, are you currently employed as a peace officer at the rank of sergeant with the West Sacramento Police Department?
I am.
And in April of 2023, were you also a sergeant with the West Sacramento Police Department?
Yes.
As a member of the West Sacramento Police Department, did you have a collateral duty at that time?
Yes.
And what was that?
As a UAS or a drone operator.
Okay, when you say UAS, what does that mean?
Unmanned aerial system.
And is that where you're able to operate a drone and fly and take videos and pictures of that?
Yes.
On April 27th of 2023, actually, let me step back. Do you have to go through a certification process to be able to operate a drone or a UAS?
Yes.
And did you complete the courses and the requirements necessary to do that?
Yes.
Are you familiar with FAA regulations and things like that on how to properly operate it?
Yes.
And your department recognizes you as a drone operator?
Yes.
So did you get called on April 27th, 2023 to assist the Davis Police Department for potential homicide that they had at Central Park?
Yes.
Did you bring your drone with you?
I did.
And what was the purpose that you were brought out there?
One, they wanted overall photos of the area, mostly the park, and as well as to search some rooftops that they couldn't necessarily get to on foot.
And did you capture 2 still shots with your drone that you turned over to the Davis Police Department?
I think there were more than that, but yeah, I captured some still shots, yes.
So I'm going to show you People's Exhibits 2A and 2B. So showing you People's Exhibit 2, then we'll show you 2A and 2B. So Sergeant Cameron, do you recognize 2A?
Yes.
And how do you recognize this?
That is a photo that I took that day of the crime scene.
And is this a fair, and do you recognize 2B?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
That is also a photo of the crime scene just a little higher up and a little bit further back.
Did you take that picture?
Yes.
And are both those pictures fair and accurate depictions of what you captured with your drone on April 27, 2023?
Yes.
No further questions?
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Hutchinson?
No questions.
Sergeant Cameron, thank you for your testimony. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. DeMar, next witness.
We will call Detective Alex Torres.
Okay. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
Come on in, stand at the podium right here, take the oath, and then the witness stand.
If you solemnly swear to explain what you give, the cause not being for the court, shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Take your first and last name for the record and spell them both.
Alex Torres. Alex is Alex, Torres Torres.
Thank you. Mr. DeMora, direct.
Your Honor. Good afternoon, Detective Torres.
Good afternoon.
Detective Torres, where are you employed?
City of Davis Police Department.
What do you do there?
I am currently a detective with the City of Davis.
So you're assigned to the Investigations Bureau.
Yes.
In April of 2023, what were you assigned as at that time?
At that time, I was assigned to patrol in the position of corporal.
And were you also, did you also have a collateral duty?
I did, yes.
What was that?
I was team lead of the evidence response team, ERT.
On April 27th, 2023, did you respond to Central Park in the city of Davis County, Iowa?
Yes,
Why?
for report of a male possibly injured and possibly bleeding on a park bench.
And did you see that individual on the park bench?
I did, yes.
Did that individual appear injured?
Heavily so, yes.
And if so, did the person appear to be alive or deceased?
Deceased.
When you got on scene and you saw this individual, you said heavily injured. Why did you say that?
The exterior of his clothing had notable puncture marks on the upper torso area of his body. There was a saturation around those puncture marks that was red in color. It appeared to be blood.
All right, so let me step back for a second. When you got on scene, how was this, that we now know as David Breaux, how was Mr. Breaux positioned on this bench?
David Breaux was in a seated position with his back up against the back brace of the green park bench. His head was tilted back over the back curve of the bench. His mouth was open. His arms were down at his side. One of his feet, I believe it was his left foot from what I could recall, was flat on the ground, the sole of the foot. However, I believe it was the right foot was canted slightly so that the right side of the shoe was on the ground while the sole was pointed to the left.
Was there anything on the bench, on the actual bench next to him, or actually, let me rephrase. Was there anything on the bench next to him?
Yes.
What was that?
There was a backpack filled with items, and also underneath David was a cloth item, looked like a shirt.
Could you tell how many, let me rephrase, what was he wearing?
He was wearing, on his legs, he had blue colored sweats. His feet, he was wearing black socks that were extended up over the cuffs of the sweats, and shoes that were closed-toed. On his upper body, he had approximately 5 layers of clothing. And
Showing you People's Exhibit 1, photos last 4 of 7360.
Wait, hold on. Listen, you've got to either get a stipulation or lay a foundation with the witness first. I mean, I'm welcome to stipulations, and all these have been in discovery, but we have to go through that procedure. Mr. Hutchinson?
I'll stipulate.
Okay, thank you, Counselor.
Showing you People's Exhibit 1, photo 7360. Detective Torres, do you recognize this photograph?
yes,
And how do you recognize it?
this is a photo of David Breaux as I found him on the bench.
And what you describe as this clothing, is that, in that photograph, are we able to see the photograph, or excuse me, the clothing you just described?
Yes, if we could go back to the photo. Yes.
Now, and if you could explain this, are his arms or his sleeves to it, are his arms in that sweatshirt or outside of that sweatshirt?
Outside of it.
When you were inspecting Mr. Breaux, did you notice anything about whether his clothes were clean or his clothes were dirty?
I noted that they were dirty.
How so?
His pants and his shoes and the exposed socks on his legs had this dusting of brown powder or dirt along the knees of the legs and the socks, as well as on the exterior layer sweater. And there was also red stains around puncture areas of the sweater.
When you say this dusting of brown powder and dirt, did you see, was there a consistent color of dirt in that area?
Yes.
Where?
Underneath the bench, there was a circular, not completely circular, but an area that was the same colored brown dirt.
When you say a dusting, what do you mean by that?
It looked like smearing of this dirt on him. Like it looked like he had been in dirt.
So I'll give you this example. If you were to walk through like a freshly plowed field or something like that, where you get dirt on your shoes and you try to dust it off, it comes off fairly easily. Is that consistent with what you're talking about, or is it something different?
This is slightly different, more concentrated in certain areas where it wouldn't just be enough to wring out or fling out the pants to get all that dirt off. It would have to be washed.
Now, I want to go to, I'm going to transition for a second, and come back to a few more questions on this. But the puncture wounds that you were describing on Mr. Breaux, from your observation, could you tell how many were in his upper torso area?
From my recollection, I do not recall an exact amount, but it was close to a dozen.
And where were they concentrated, if concentrated anywhere?
They were, I would say there were, from what I saw, there were several on a right sleeve, two on a right sleeve area near the forearm. There were several on the back lower portion of his body and left side arm, from what I can recall.
And that was just from your initial observations on being on scene?
Yes.
Counsel, are we done with this exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, if you can you remove it?
Yes. Now, what other observations, Detective, did you make about Mr. Breaux in terms of what items he had with him or what he was wearing?
I noted that his upper torso was, he was wearing about 5 layers of clothing. The exterior being a black hooded sweater. Underneath that was, I believe, a knitted sweater, followed by a Gap brand sweater, then a zip-up brown sweater, and then a long-sleeve black shirt was the base layer. Also, next to him, inside the backpack was a laptop, a wallet, which had his ID and how I was able to identify him out at the scene.
Why were the layers of clothes that he was wearing significant to you?
Because the penetration of how far an object would have to go, given the layers of clothing that a person's wearing, also consideration as to during something that had occurred, what happened with those clothing items or how they were involved were considerations.
When talking about the layers of clothes and how far something would have to penetrate to make those I don't know, puncture wounds that you described, did that lead you to believe that, well, what did that lead you to believe?
Given the layers, the amount of punctures, and the fact that that would prevent blood from seeping out too much, catch most of any blood seeping out of a wound. The saturation that was coming out meant to me that there was significant blood loss that occurred, as well as significant injuries that likely was the result of this person's death, or resulted in this person's death.
Would you also need a really sharp object to get through that many layers?
I would say so, yes.
You mentioned a backpack that had electronics in it. Why was that a significant issue?
Part of my examination of the scene is also to try to understand cause, if possible. Given that the items of value left behind at the scene, it caused me to not believe robbery was an intended purpose.
Was there anything that you located on the ground around Mr. Breaux?
Yes.
What was that?
There were two noticeable objects on the ground near that bench within about 5 to 6 feet of it.
And what were those?
One was a large blanket, and the other one was a sheath, leather sheath, boot knife style leather sheath for a knife.
Start with the blanket. Why was that of significance to you?
To determine if it was involved in some way for any staining that may have occurred, any punctures that were visible on it.
Let's talk about this knife sheath. Where did you first observe this knife sheath?
It was on the ground, from my recollection, under the blanket.
How far away from Mr. Breaux was it?
Roughly within 5 feet.
You say it was leather and for a boot style knife. What do you mean by that?
I own several boot knives. The back of the sheath had a little clip that was meant to either go on a belt, or if held inside a boot, an actual cowboy boot, it can hang off the edges of the boot. Plus the leather itself had a little clasp on top, so to keep a knife sheathed as a person moves around. And yeah, it was also the leather itself wasn't, it didn't have apparent wear, over-aging, looked new.
Can you tell what brand knife would go into this sheath?
The sheath itself was a Smith & Wesson brand knife sheath, and which made me believe that it was in fact a Smith & Wesson knife that goes to the sheath.
Did you find a knife on scene?
No.
you collect the knife sheath?
Yes.
Did you book it in evidence?
Yes.
Was that, you recall what item number that was?
If I could look at my notes to refresh my recollection.
If that will, with his honor's permission.
Okay.
I'm refreshed.
Okay, what did you book it under?
Item number 21.
And if I have any approach evidence, Your Honor?
Okay. What number exhibit are you looking for?
Number 9.
Number 9, okay.
I had it earlier. All right, my name is Chris, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm showing you People's Exhibit number 9. Gloves. Now, Corporal Torres, wouldn't mind, can you open up People's 9? You recognize that?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the Smith & Wesson knife sheath that I located at the scene near David Breaux' body.
Okay, and that's the one that we've just been talking about for the last several minutes?
Yes.
Now, at some point during the investigation into the events that happened on April 27th, 29th, and May 1st, are you familiar with all those dates?
Yes.
Are you familiar with Mr. Carlos Dominguez?
Yes.
You've seen him in court today?
Yes.
Can you point to him and describe what he's wearing for me?
It is the gentleman at the second table furthest from me, seated on my right, wearing a dark gray suit jacket, blue tie, and a light gray button-up shirt. Clean shaven, approximate age 25, male.
May the record reflect that Detective Torres identified Mr. Dominguez?
He does.
And when you're familiar with his arrest on May 3rd of 2023,
Yes.
were you aware that a knife was recovered from him?
Yes.
Have you seen or inspected that knife?
Yes.
Is that knife that was located, what type of knife is that?
It was a double-sided, sometimes referred to as dirk or dagger, Smith & Wesson brand boot knife.
Okay, thank you. Detective, I'm gonna stop you, we're gonna take a break, and on the other side, we've got more questions for you, I appreciate your patience. Why don't you sit tight for a second, let me excuse the jury, and then you're free to take a break as well. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 15-minute break, we're gonna be in session at 4:30, so whatever you do, if it's calisthenics or whatever, be ready to go for another hour, and whatever that is. Don't form any opinions, don't discuss, don't research. Enjoy your break, folks, thank you. The presence of the jury, Mr. Vanderhook, did you have an issue for the court? Mr. Demora, was there an issue?
No,
for the
sir.
court?
Oh, actually, there is a witness issue.
Okay, I need to do that right now.
Yes, if we could have it in order now.
Okay. Is this the witness here?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir, come on in. Good afternoon. My name is Sam McEvan. I'm the judge presiding over this trial. My understanding is you have been subpoenaed, court ordered to come to court today. Thank you for honoring that subpoena. It sounds like we're going to need you on a different day, so I want to issue a new order that you return on a certain date and time, same location, Department 14. Mr. Vanderhook, when's that?
Wednesday, May 7th at 9 a.m.
Wednesday, May 7th at 9 a.m. Sir, can you state your name for me? Alberto Osorio. Okay, great. Do you understand the order of the court?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to be here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, it's good to see you today. All right, I'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other business we need to take care of?
Regarding Mr. Osorio, the court previously issued a material witness warrant. May that warrant be recalled?
Sure, it wasn't dealt with?
No. So
That's a different witness?
different witness. He was contacted today and came voluntarily without the warrant needing to be served.
Warrant's recalled. Yeah, the order was vacated for the warrant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else before we break? All right, let me just add one other thing. Mr. Demora, Mr. Hudson. We heard opening statements, set forth the disputes of fact. If you can stipulate to the admission of exhibits and certain facts, I think we can really speed this up. So anyway, I know you want to present your case, but a lot of this is not disputed, and I think we can move through some of these facts a lot quicker. So anyway, it's first day of trial.
Was, you mentioned that the knife that was recovered from Mr. Dominguez upon his arrest appeared to match that knife sheath that you recovered on April 27th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so going back to the items you collected or you observed on April 27th, 2023, I want to go through a few more of those items, and then I want to go back to a couple of photographs from People's Exhibit 1. Bill, if I may.
Just a second. We learned something about our friends in the jury when that happened. Very, very nice tune. It's off. Everyone's got it off. No worries.
If I may approach you.
Okay.
And showing you Detective Torres, actually I should say, did you collect the clothing items that you just described from Mr. Breaux?
Yes.
Did you book those in the evidence?
Yes.
So I'm showing you People's 52C. Do you know what 52C is?
Yes, this is the Gap sweater that he was wearing as one of the layers that day.
If you wouldn't mind going ahead and opening that up.
Got it open. Want me to take it up?
Could you, and with permission from his honor, you could hang that on, PVC pipe.
Sure.
And Detective Torres, while you're up here, do you recognize, this exhibit?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
From photographs, the fact that I collected it, the packaging, and what I recall of it.
And you remember seeing this on Mr. Breaux when, you observed him on April 27th?
Yes.
This is the actual clothing item that was recovered from the person.
Yes.
Great. I have another exhibit.
Can I ask you, is that the front or back that we're seeing?
Currently, you're seeing the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to flip it around so we can see the back too?
Absolutely.
And now we're looking at the back. Detective Torres, from what you're able to see, are there any cuts or incisions in this piece of evidence?
Yes.
All right, can you point to some of those for us?
Yes. From the base upward, you have a cut here, 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 here, 12 on the right sleeve, 12, 13, 14, 15 is here top. Left sleeve. Yeah. For the rear, that's what I see.
And we can see it for the record. There appears to be a reddish color on this piece of evidence. Yeah, based on your training experience, is that suspected blood?
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, we can put that back in the exhibit bag. We'll go on to our next piece of evidence, which is going to be People's Exhibit 52F. That one. Wouldn't mind doing the same process of opening that up. And before you display that, Detective Torres, what is that?
This is the black sweater, item number from the original case 29.
And are you familiar with that piece of evidence?
Yes,
How are you familiar with it?
I collected this piece of evidence and had it packaged.
And did you see it on Mr. Breaux on April 27th, 2023?
Yes.
Go ahead. And the way you have that on the
This-
PVC pipe, is that the front that we're looking at?
Yes.
Now, in looking at this, when you describe the 5 layers of clothes that Mr. Breaux had, which layer is this?
From my recollection, this is the outermost layer.
So, one question I forgot to ask is when we talk about the base layer, where you started out with the outermost layer and the base, just to be clear, the base layer is one closest to the body itself.
Yeah, what was touching his physical skin.
And on this, earlier we had talked about some of the dusting and the dirt. Is some of that, what you described, still on this piece of evidence?
Yes, on the front.
Here. When you say here, you're referring to the what?
The front chest area and stomach area of the sweater.
And are you able to see any incision marks or puncture marks on this piece of evidence?
Yes.
If you could point those out to the jury.
On the front, there is one here, 1, 2.
Actually, let me stop you real quick. When you're saying here, if you could say where on this piece of evidence we're talking about.
All right. On the front of this sweater, to the left of the double front pocket, there is 3 puncture marks in within a 2 to 3 inch radius of the entry part of the pocket. On the right sleeve, about 4 to 5 inches down from the shoulder seam, there's an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 puncture marks on the sleeve. And further down from that, about 5 inches, is another puncture mark at the elbow. Frame. And on the back, and on the back of the sweater, near the base, within about 3-4 inches of the base, there are additional 1, 2, 3 puncture marks. About 2 to 3 inches above those are an additional 1, 2 puncture marks. And then about 8 to 9 inches up and probably 6 inches from the left side of the back area, there's another puncture mark here. And then another puncture mark about 6 inches above that.
And one question I have is, we're looking at sort of where the seam is on the bottom of this. It's looks like a tear of about maybe 8 inches. That is, just to be clear, that's not one of the puncture wounds or marks we're talking about, correct?
No, I'm not talking about that one.
Kind of fair to say that looks like wear and tear.
Fair to say, yeah. Fraying on either sides, yeah.
You wouldn't mind putting that one on? We'll move on to the next one.
Before you do that, Mr. Kumar, do you want to move it a little closer to the jury?
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, City Detective Torres.
Steps.
Yeah.
Feel free to get up anytime, counsel, if you need to walk around and take a look.
I will hand you People's 52D, which is 52D. Same routine, if you would first tell us what that is, or if you have to open it, tell us what it is.
This is a brown Goody Ello and Company sweater. The brand is Goody Ello.
And are you familiar with the piece of evidence that's in that bag?
Yes.
How so?
This was an item worn by David Breaux that I collected out at the scene.
You can assist counsel, go ahead.
Thank you. And which layer of clothing was this?
If I could refer to my notes,
Will that refresh your
it
recollection?
will refresh my recollection.
With his honest permission?
Okay.
Yes, this is second to last layer. This is what was over the base layer, the shirt.
And a similar question that I had with the previous pieces of clothing, are you able to identify where there are puncture marks on this?
Yes. So about on the front of the shirt, sweater, I should say, sweater, there are 3 puncture marks that are about 9, grouped together about 9 inches up from the waistline, and about, in a grouping of about 4 inches away from the left side of the sweater are 3 puncture marks. On the opposite side, there are 2 puncture marks on the front near the armpit seam of the sweater. And then on the back, there's a puncture on the right side sleeve near the top. And then on the rear, there's a series, at the base, within 2 to 3 inches of the bottom of the sweater, there are 1, 2, 3 puncture marks. About 4 to 5 inches above that, there's another puncture mark. And above that, within about 4 inches, is another puncture mark. And then near the center, towards the left, is a puncture mark, center back. And then another 3 grouped together near the top right side where the shoulder blade would be. If someone were wearing this, or additional 3 closer together. And 2 more up at the right shoulder.
And in looking at this, same question I had with other exhibits is we see this is obviously a light colored garment, and we see what appears to be red stains throughout this. Based on your training experience, is that consistent with blood?
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind putting that one away. Table 52A.
You're right.
While you're opening that, what is 52A?
52A is from the original case report, item 34, and it is blue sweatpants.
And are you familiar with those blue sweatshirts?
Yes.
How so?
These were the blue sweatpants that I collected from David Breaux And they were worn by him at the time they were collected.
We just rotated this. Is the jury looking at the front or the back of this weapon?
This is the front that is facing the jury. This is the front of the sweatpants. Yeah.
No. Any incision marks on this portion of the pants or this exhibit?
Nope, not that on my understanding. I'm not seeing one on the front or the back.
Right now, I want to ask you, looking at, you just rotated it, now the jury's looking at the back, correct?
This is now the back.
Right, so now, looking at the left leg, what is it that is on the left leg that we're observing?
So on the left leg, on the outside area, is brown.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Yep.
Turn this slightly. Perhaps a better view.
Yep. Is brown dust or dirt that goes up and down the leg, heavy concentration just around the knee area and below. There's also on the left side pocket going down at the front, noticeable dust here, and then here at the bend of the knee area, a circular patch of brown dirt.
And you said the bend of the knee, and it looked like you grabbed a different leg. Is that on the right leg?
The right leg, at the bend of the knee area, concentration.
And was this dusting that you just talked about consistent with the coloring of the dirt that was underneath the park bench?
Yes.
So I want to, we can switch exhibits now. Wouldn't mind putting that one away. I'll give you another one. Give you exhibit 52B as in boy. And what is that, Detective Torres?
This is from the original case. Item number is 37. Black shirt that was worn as a base layer by David Breaux.
And you're familiar with that?
Yes, I collected this out at the scene from his body.
Now, while you're displaying that, when you reference the original case, when you say original case, are you talking about the original, the first case number that was created by the Davis Police Department?
Yes, the first case number, which is Davis PD case number 23-1830, actually 1930, 1930, that case.
And just for clarity's sake, when there's an incident that takes place, whether it's crime or an incident, does every incident generate a new internal case number by the police department?
If it is a police report, yes. If it's an incident, then it just gets an incident number, which is not a police report. But if a case is actually taken, that means an investigation occurring, then a case number is taken.
Okay, so based on your involvement in the case involving Mr. Dominguez, were multiple case numbers generated?
Yes.
Is that just for tracking of evidence, or does that have any significance other than internal tracking purposes?
It tends to be focused on a core victim tied to also a core location. But typically it's tied to a core victim that we take an initial police report with. If it turns out that there is another victim and we don't know if there's correlation, we get a second case number. If there's a third or fourth victim, each one gets their own case number until there's a correlation. Once there's a correlation, we choose one of the cases to be the main case report that gets everything. Every single evidence item, every supplement that gets added, and sometimes they get referred to the others. It can be very confusing.
So, original case number, just because Mr. Breaux' case was the first one that was open.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay. There is significant biohazard in this, but I'll do my best.
So first, before we even go into that, I missed it. What was this 52B that we were looking at?
This item is a gray long sleeve sweater, which was the base layer worn by David Breaux in the park. It was underneath all the other sweaters collected.
When you say significant biohazard in there, is there any concern about bloodborne pathogens or something like that that you think it would be safer to keep it in there as opposed to displaying it?
That would be, even though it's dry, that is my opinion, yes.
Okay.
Given the soap level, what I can see.
Well, for that, let's just leave it as it is. But is that something that you collected and looked into evidence from Mr. Breaux?
Yes.
Let's go with 5 people exhibit 5. Alex Torres, what is that?
This is item number 22 from the original case. It is a red and white blanket that was on the ground near David Breaux.
And you're personally familiar with that?
Yes, I collected this out at the scene.
And as we were talking about before the break, was this the item that was located by the bench on the ground?
Yes.
Any incisions or punctures on this piece of evidence that you were able to identify either then or now?
No.
Any, from what you're able to see, any signs of blood or other evidences that someone was stabbed?
Of being stabbed? No. Of staining, yes.
When you say staining, what do you mean?
At the, this is, the way I'm hanging it, at the top, there is a dried, crusty substance near the top layer, that is the top of how it's being displayed. Opposite the knot that is at the bottom, there is staining, reddish, and hard now that it is dry.
And based on your training experience, is that consistent with blood?
Yes.
Now, you're rotating the exhibit.
Yes.
What are we looking at now?
It is a blanket with a knot at the top, a slight hooded area, much like a poncho.
And have you seen individuals in Davis or elsewhere who have taken items like this, garment items like this, and tied them around their neck or area to make sort of like a hoodie or a blanket they can walk in?
Yes, a makeshift poncho. Yeah.
Great, we can put that exhibit away. All right, and last one I will put right up here for you. People's Exhibit 6. Would you mind telling us what that exhibit is?
This is a backpack, which was this was packaged as reference item CS-6 for CS being crime scene, 6 being the 6th item collected from the crime scene, so CS-6.
And you're familiar with these items?
Yes, I'm familiar with this backpack. Yes, I'm familiar with these items. This is the backpack that was next to David Breaux, that contained the laptop, his wallet, which I used to identify him.
And where was this located next to him?
This was located as he was seated on the bench. This was just to the right of him. Yeah.
All right, you can put that away. And I'll show you people 7 and people's 8. So we're going a little out of order, but Torres, what is people 7?
This is a brown scarf, which was next to David when he was seated on the bench. And I collected from that bench.
Any signs of blood or anything like that, incision marks on this from what you could recall back on April 27th or today?
From what I could recall, no, and even on the examination today, no.
And then I'm going to just put that up for display. We're going to go with people's 8. 8. And what is people's 8?
People's 8 is a Eddie Bauer checkered large shirt. Which I recall was next to David as well, next to the scarf on the bench.
Is there a biohazard issue with that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Then we won't display it. So you're familiar with that?
yes, I am.
Okay. And you collected that?
Yes.
And sorry, I missed it when I was telling you it was biohazard. Where was that located?
This was located on the bench underneath the area that David was sitting, and next to that was the scarf and the backpack.
move this back, and we can move it back on the stand.
Pick it.
Sorry. Slide it over. And now, during the break, you have a chance to examine a series of photographs on People's Exhibit 1.
Yes.
And are you familiar with all those photographs?
Yeah.
And without going into each one specifically, what were those photographs pictures of?
Those were the evidence photos, overall photos for the scene at Community Park as evidence was being collected.
And were those, were you familiar with the contents of those photographs?
Yes.
And were those fair and accurate depictions of the scene on April 27th when you were there and the evidence collection at that time?
Yes.
Do you know who took those photographs?
Yes, that was PSS Linda Schwinn, SHWEND. PSS stands for Police Services Specialist.
Great. And all those pictures, I may have asked this, fair and accurate depiction?
Yes.
Great. We can, permission to publish, Your Honor?
Okay.
So, on People's Exhibit 1, item or photograph ending in 7333. What are we looking at here, Detective Torres?
So this is this is Central Park, directly in frame near the center of this photo is the park bench where David Breaux was found. He is currently seated there underneath a white colored cover.
What's behind him? What's that area behind him?
So that area behind him is play structure area. The back of the bench, there's a gap to the wrought iron fence line for the play structure. It's a play area.
When you say there's a gap, are you talking about between the bench and the fence?
Yes,
Right. How big is that gap?
about 2.5, 2 to 3 feet, somewhere in there.
Is there any lighting in this area by the bench?
No.
Have you been to this area at night before?
Yes.
Can you talk about the lighting?
The dominant lighting at this park area, near where this bench is, would actually be in the enclosed play structure area, would be lit. This area where these trees are located, it would not be well.
So when you say not well lit, dark.
Dark. It'd be dark.
When you've gone there, is a lot of the lighting blocked by the big trees?
Yes, they provide both shade during the day, but also at night, shade from light.
Go to the next photo. On Exhibit 1. This is photograph ending in 7334. What are we looking at?
This is a photograph of the same area, slightly closer to where David Breaux was.
And do you have the laser pointer or a laser pointer there?
Sure. Pretty good detective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, we're able to see Mr. Breaux's left leg right there, you're pointing to it.
Yes.
What is that on the ground right there?
This here on the ground is the white and red blanket that had that knot in it that I hung up earlier.
When you described it as a poncho?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Next photograph. This is ending in 7335. What are we looking at here?
Again, of David Breaux on the bench here, red and white blanket, slightly closer, and the play structure behind, enclosed by this wrought iron fence.
Where his left foot is that the area you were talking about where the dirt was that we were just describing on
Yeah, yes, the area around where his left foot is, it is brown dirt. Just outside that, ringing it slightly, is brown dry pine needles, and then it's grass further out. So brown pine needles there, you can't really see the brown pine needles there, and then dirt right here.
Next photo. Ending in 7336 on Peoples 1. What are we looking at here?
This is a close-up photo of the previous one. There is a Smith & Wesson black leather knife sheath, a blanket, and David Breaux bracelet.
Okay, so when you said that Smith & Wesson knife sheath, is that what, that long, sort of dark object just to the left of the top of the blanket?
Yes.
And that was the same knife sheath that you booked, that you showed the jury earlier this afternoon?
Yes.
To your knowledge, has anyone moved any items on scene or given you reason to believe that that item has been moved?
Not that I recall.
Next photograph. Ending in 7337. Detective Torres, describe what we're looking at here.
This is a close to similar angle as the previous photo. Here is the blanket, knife sheath, the right foot of David Breaux, and there's David Breaux, wrought iron fence behind.
Okay, now I want to go to the bench itself. Can you see that backpack, People's Exhibit 6, that you showed to the jury?
Yes, this is the backpack that was right next to David Breaux.
Okay, so left side of the photograph, but if you're sitting on the bench, it's on your right, on Mr. Breaux's right.
On Mr. Breaux's right there.
Thank you. Next photo. Right, ending in 7338 on People's 1. Just a close-up view of what we just described. What do we see underneath the bench here?
So underneath the bench right here is that brown, dusty dirt that's underneath the bench. Here is the backpack. Next to the backpack is a brown colored scarf. And then in between Mr. Breaux and the bench is this shirt with red lines right here.
In that photograph, is there any blood that's on the dirt from what you recall?
Yes.
Can you point to that with the laser?
So there's, when I arrived on scene, I noticed like a piling of what appeared to be drying blood underneath is where he was seated.
And so, you're moving the laser around. Can you just use the laser to point to where you're seeing that?
So there's this pooling right here.
And is that off on the photograph, the left side of his ankle?
Yes. Well, yes, on the photograph, from photograph view, yes, left side.
But then, if you were looking at this, the pool, is it actually behind his leg?
Yes, behind his leg.
Okay. And describe where else you see it.
Then there's trailing right here, coming down, and then right here, coming down.
When you say trailing, what do you mean?
It appears that, because liquid tends to go down a grade if there's an incline, liquid coming down from a higher point to a lower point.
And is that on the back side of the bench?
Yes, on the backside where one's butt would be as they sit.
And looking at the bottom left-hand corner of that photograph, that dark object right there.
This one,
Yes.
that is the knife sheath.
Do you recall what direction the portion that is open where you put the knife in, what direction that's facing?
That is currently in this photo facing north.
So north would be off to the left side of the photograph.
Yes, if you're sitting on this bench, if you're out looking at this bench, looking where someone is seated, to the left is northward, to the right is southward.
This is photograph 7338 7339, what do we see here?
This is a view of David, Mr. Breaux seated on the bench, the backpack, which is on his right side, the scarf, and a shirt, a sleeve sticking out down here.
Next photo. Ending in 7340. And describe this one. What are we seeing that's new or different?
This is David Breaux seated on the bench. However, a screen to prevent passerbys from seeing him has been erected to the left side of the photo, that black screen.
So, privacy screen.
Yes.
Next photograph. Ending in 7341. What are we looking at on this angle?
This is, you can see more of that reflection of liquid that is pooling underneath him, red liquid, with trails coming down. Since where that liquid is a high point, liquid tends to go down at a grade, so it's going to low points.
And
Suspected blood.
And looking at Mr. Breaux's shoes, anything else significant there?
Yes, one shoe, his left shoe is planted sole down. His right shoe is planted with the right side of his ankle down instead of the sole. There's also red staining on the tip of his left shoe.
And looking at his left leg, are you able to see the dirt and the rest that we talked about?
Yes, it's along the top of his shoe, left shoe at the top, and also his exposed right sole. You can see it at the bottom of his shoes.
How about his right knee?
And right knee, where the bend is, there is brown dirt dusting, similar color as to what's underneath, and up and down the left bottom leg that's exposed, bottom leg pant.
Next photograph. 7342. What are we looking at here?
The camera angle is currently facing northward. The screen is on the left side here. David Breaux seated on the bench.
And looking northward, is that street where those cars are, is that Fifth Street?
Yes, this street right here that goes left to right, which is west to east, that's Fifth Street.
And can you point to where the knife sheath is in this photograph, if you can see it?
Right here.
Top, just off to the center of the towel that we were talking about.
Yes.
Next photograph. Ending in 7347 on Peoples 1. Is this another photograph of that knife sheath and towel we were just talking about?
Yes. Knife sheath, and here's that little blanket or towel.
Yeah, sorry, the towel, I meant,
Like-
the punch, what you refer to as a puncture.
Yes.
Can you tell where the knot is on this one?
No. Not on this photo.
Off to the far right, there's, so go to, take your laser point, go to the right. Go right.
This is my right.
That, yep. All the way to the end,
Oh,
right there. What's that?
oh, that's David Breaux's shoe. His right shoe, that's the tip.
And next photograph. Ending in 7348. What's this angle that we're looking at?
This is the bench that David Breaux is seated on. It's more focused on the backpack to the left and the scarf.
Next photograph. Ending in 7349 on Peoples 1. Is this more of a upward angle looking downward?
Yes.
Describe what we're looking at here. It looks a little dark on the backside.
So this is the area next to, on the bench, next to David Breaux, and there's no objects there.
Okay. Where is Mr. Breaux's head at this time?
His head, it's hard to see, but it is up here.
And so you're pointing sort of the center of the top of the page, or the exhibit.
Yes.
Next photo, ending in 7350. What's this?
That's David Breaux' left shoe and leg.
And similar to what we described earlier, you can see the dusting in the dirt.
Yes.
And is this he's seated on the bench, that area that you had described in the previous picture, there's no objects there, is that what we're seeing right there?
Right here.
Next photo. I need 7353 equals 1. What's this?
This is a photo taken in, the angle is northward. This is a photo of the left side of David Breaux, seated on the bench. He has his outer layer hooded sweater with the hood up.
And immediately behind his head, is that the wrought iron fence that you were talking about?
Yes, right here, wrought iron fence.
Is there a lot of room to walk back and forth between that fence and that bench?
Not a lot of room.
Now, let's go to the next photograph. So moving from 7353 to 7360. What is this?
This is a photo of the right side of David as he was seated on the bench. And this is his right side, his right hand, and this is his head.
And as you mentioned earlier, his arms are outside of his sweatshirt.
Yes, this is the actual sleeve right here, and this is his arm, and the tip of his shirt, the sleeve of his shirt that he was wearing.
And the sleeve of his shirt, that wasn't the base layer, correct? That was that sort of off-white shirt we were talking about?
From what I recall, what's on that sleeve right now is the base layer. That arm is in that sleeve right there, I think is the base layer from what I recall.
Understood. Next, actually on this, on 7360, are you able to see where, or point to with the laser pointer, where there were puncture wounds on Mr. Breaux?
Yes, right about here.
That is right shoulder area?
Looks like right shoulder area was one prior to moving him.
And when you say prior to moving him, you're able to identify this, and then you moved him, right?
Yes.
Okay. He hadn't moved prior to this.
No.
All right, next photograph. 7361 equals 1. What are we looking at?
This is a downward view of Mr. Breaux as he was seated on the bench.
Are there any other puncture wounds you're able to identify or saw in this photograph?
Not that I recall.
Looking at his sweatshirt in the chest area, is that just the sun or is that dirt on him?
This is dirt. This brown that's on his chest and down here on the stomach area. That is dirt.
Similar to the dirt you were talking about on his hands.
Yes.
Next photograph. 7362. What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph view behind the bench that he was seated on. This is his right leg, his left leg, and this is his main body here with liquid dripping down here.
Okay, that liquid, you say dripping down here. If we go to the left side of the exhibit, 7362, and it's just in the center along where the bench starts to curve from going vertical to horizontal, is that correct?
Yes, from the backing down becoming the base.
That item that's hanging through the gaps in the bench, what is that?
That is the shirt that was laid out underneath him where he was seated.
Next photograph. 7365. What are we looking at here?
This is his right arm resting on the bench. This is the base layer, the gray shirt, long sleeve base layer that he was wearing underneath the sweaters.
And it looks like there's some incision marks or some cuts or something like that in that. Were you able to tell if those were associated to a puncture wound or some sort of injury?
I do not recall.
Dropping down by his arm on the actual bench itself, just below his hand, what is that that's on the bench itself?
Red drying liquid.
Is that consistent with blood?
I suspect blood, yes.
Okay, moving to the left, that piece of that garment on there, you have a red and white one.
Yes.
What is that?
That is the shirt that was laid out underneath David on the bench.
And when you say laid out underneath, then how much area of the bench did it cover?
Roughly from the backpack to the area where his butt was seated on the bench. Roughly 2 feet wide. It was a button-up shirt, unbuttoned at the time, I believe.
Did it appear to be used as like a sheet to sleep on, or could you tell how it was laid out?
It was stretched, taut, and laid out underneath, so that very little parts of it could get in between the gaps, as if to prevent either a draft or to sleep on.
And what on the far left of that photograph are we looking at?
That's the backpack that was next door.
Next photograph. 7367. What are we looking at here?
This is the left side of David Breaux at the belt line. His pants, the blue sweats, underneath the sweats, blue jeans with the belt, and this gray shirt is the base layer underneath the sweaters.
Next photograph. 7369 on People's One. What are we looking at here?
This is the left leg of David Breaux with brown dusting on it.
Now, at the top of the photograph, just if you move from the knee area, right there you go. You know where I was going.
Mhm.
What's that?
That black item is the sheath.
Next question? Or two, not next question. That's what I do. Next photograph. 7370. What are we looking at here?
So this is the back of the bench, looking at the back of David Breaux's left side.
Now, previously you had mentioned the blood, suspected blood that was dripping. Are you able to see that in this photograph?
Yes, it's right here, these droplets, right here.
With the laser pointer, you're just going underneath the bench and going sort of on an angle as the bench, the bottom of the bench, moves in the exhibit.
Yes.
Next photograph. All right, 7371 of People's One. What's this picture we're looking at?
This is the left side of David Breaux up at his shoulder. This is the black sweater on the exterior, the outermost layer.
Is that dirt or sunlight that we're seeing on that, that light?
At the seam of the shoulder, it is brown dirt.
Any puncture or other wounds that you were able to see in this?
Yes, there were two puncture wounds, two puncture cuts into this sweater that had noticeable red staining around.
What's this like little white like circle in the middle of the yes, that right there?
This looks like a hole in the outer sweater. Yes.
Now, moving down on Mr. Breaux's arm, so go towards his forearm area,
And his forearms are-
right there.
Right.
Is there anything that you can tell in there? It looks like there's two dark blotches on there. Is that anything that you recognize?
These two right here.
Oh, no, if, so go up, right there.
Right here. The redness or the stains?
You tell me.
I'm noticing dirt here
Okay.
dominantly.
Dirt. Got it. Next photograph. 7372. What are we looking at here?
This is a photo taken from the south side of the bench to show its backing height here, which was about 32 inches.
Okay, so just under 3 feet.
Yes.
Okay. Photograph.
This was a photo to show the height of the armrest.
How tall is that armrest?
23 inches, I believe.
That's photograph 7373. Next photograph. Looking at 7381. What's this?
These were punctures that I noticed along where underneath this is his arm. This is the stomach area of the sweater, the outer layer, but underneath it is his arm. And there were two with red soaking liquid around it. One here, another here.
Are we looking at the left side of his body or the right side, or are we looking down on his orient as to this photo?
So this is a left, we're looking at the left side of his body, and the angle is northward, but it is the left side of his body.
Okay, where's his head in relation to this?
If this had panned out further to the top, his head would be the further top right of where this photo is.
Next photo. 7382. What are we looking at?
This is that same area and the use of a reference scale for puncture comparison.
When you say reference scale, what does that mean?
Putting down a scale in the photo so you have so whoever uses it has a general idea of the size of something.
So what wound is being measured here?
Could you zoom in more for me? Go up. It's hard to see, but I think usually I think there's one right here.
And we say right here, you're circling the area where if you took one and one and went across to make a square, would be within that.
Yes.
Next photo, 7382. Next photo. 7383 on Peoples 1. What is this?
That is a puncture wound just to the right of the pocket entry, outer base layer.
Next photo. 7384. What is this?
The same wound using the scale as a reference.
And what side of Mr. Breaux's body was this on?
Left side.
Left side. Right, next photo. 7385. What are we looking at?
So this is a view of his right side, specifically his right arm as it rested on the bench.
Are there any visible wounds on his right arm?
Yes, there is a cut on his right hand and then around the area of these punctures.
And areas of punctures, you're looking at his forearm area on that base layer.
Yes.
Next photo.
This is his left forearm, and this is the sleeve, left sleeve of that shirt that he was wearing, the base layer.
And that zoomed in version of the previous photograph that we just described.
Yes.
Next photo. 7387. What's this?
It's a photo of his face and upper torso.
Okay. Where are the puncture wounds, if any, that you're able to point out in this photograph?
I do not recall.
Let's go to the next photograph. 7388. What's this photograph?
This is the right side shoulder area of the sweater with 3 puncture marks in the sweater. Punctures.
7388. Next photograph, please. 7389. What is this?
One of those punctures, but slightly closer up view.
Next photograph. 7390. What is this?
Those are the other 2 punctures that were next to the previous photo.
Next photo. 7391. What is this?
This is a puncture on the left side of David Breaux, up near the clavicle area.
And in the upper left-hand corner of that photograph, is that Mr. Breaux's chin, facial region?
Yeah, left side chin area.
Next photo. 7392. What is this?
That puncture with scale at a different angle.
And again, upper left-hand corner, is that his facial region?
Yes. Near his left
How
clavicle.
many more do we have of these?
30, Your Honor.
30 more? Okay, all right, we're gonna stop. Okay, thank you. Detective Torres, thank you for your testimony. We got more questions for you, and we're gonna resume, Mr. Demar, with this witness, first thing in the morning?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm ordering you back for 9:30 call.
9:30.
Okay, and you can leave any exhibits you have here, take your investigatory binder, your excuse. Thank you for your testimony today, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have a 3-part admonition every time we break. Do not form any opinions, do not discuss the case other than scheduling, and absolutely do not research anything. So, thank you for your service today. Tomorrow, we're gonna have the same schedule. So I'd love to see you here in just a few minutes, so we can start at 9:30. Have a great night, folks. Thank you.